Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by two incredible people, and we have a guest tonight as well. We got Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey,
You going
And
on
we have a
home.
special guest joining us tonight for our Judas Priest discussion. We have Jason Hobbs. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? Thank you so much for having me. This is my podcast debut, and I'm very excited to do this with you guys.
We're glad to have you on. We're glad to have you on. So, yeah, as I mentioned from the top of the show today, we're going to be talking about Judas Priest's most recent release, Invisible Shield, which came out earlier this year and last month in March of 2024. Let's get right into it, shall we? Kyle was voluntold to go first, so we're gonna let him go first with Judas Priest and all that stuff. So, Kyle, what do you got for Judas Priest overall as a band and Invisible Shield?
Uh, so Priest has always been a band to me that has been a mostly singles band just for me. It's no hate on Priest. I've liked their output that I've heard, but actually for some reason just never got into checking out a whole album. So this is actually my first full Priest album I listened to. Um, it pretty much gave me exactly what I was expecting. I mean, Rob Halford still got it. I mean, he hasn't missed a step at all. The guitars on this are just blistering. They're so good. Every riff is well crafted. The solos are crazy. Uh, the guitar tones on this one, I gotta pinpoint that. The tones on the production on the guitars is just, top notch. Uh, where it falls flat to me at points are just a lot of the songs just kind of come off as, your standard by the books Judas Priest. If you're a Priest fan, you're gonna enjoy it. Um, for your casual listener, towards the end of the album here, you do kind of start to feel some album fatigue, as a lot of songs start to blend together a bit. I think that this album really hits its high points when they're going like full speed, just kind of intense uh, moments in there. There's a couple slower tracks in here that I don't think work necessarily as well. I mean, my weak point on the album personally, Escape from Reality, just kind of a slower tempo song. I thought it was a bit repetitive to the point of being a little bit annoying at times. Um, wouldn't be as bad if it wasn't as repetitive, but I think that's one of the only two missteps on the album. The other one being present on the deluxe edition, which is what I think we all here listened to for this review. It was really the only kind of the default one on all the streaming platforms. The Lodger. I thought this was an insanely repetitive, big misstep to end the record on as a deluxe edition. Then when I kind of looked at the standard and saw that Giants in the Sky, I believe, was the album closer for the just normal version, made a little bit more sense. But yeah, I mean, again, some highlights for me. Number one highlight, favorite song on the album, Crown of Horns. I mean, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. This song absolutely killed it. Favorite chorus of the album. The riffs on here sound epic. Fantastic solo, all around killer track. Could have got pushed up to a 10. I felt like the drums could have done a little bit more, but overall killer song. Other standouts, the first two tracks, Panic Attack and Serpent and the King. I mean, man, what a way to start an album with those two. Just back to back bangers, just straight metal, insane instrumentation. Interestingly enough, I don't know, Mike usually picks up on stuff like this, so I'm curious if he thought this. The intro to Panic Attack sounded very much reminiscent of less metal and more 80s pop rock, very similar sounding to the song Boys of Summer. Go back and listen to it, you'll see what I mean. But great song. Some other ones, Gates of Hell was great, and Fight of Your Life from the deluxe edition, I thought was had a good groove to the riffs on that. So I mean, overall, I think the album started off very strong. Kind of towards the end, got into a bit of like album fatigue with it, whereas like yeah, just kind of the Judas Priest formula, which is not bad. It's just kind of not my style always. But I mean, the songs that are good on here are really good. There's only two songs that I probably wouldn't revisit. The rest of them, solid tracks. I mean, overall for me, lands at about a 5.5.
All right, and that's out of 10, right?
Yep.
Gotcha. Just want to check. And I believe Mike was told that I have to go next, if I'm not mistaken.
You
I've been
you
voluntold.
got this, man.
I've been voluntold. So, listen, I'm in a very, very, very similar boat as Kyle on this one. Never been a Judas Priest lover, never been a Judas Priest hater. They've always been there for me, like, Living After Midnight. What's that I can't think of off the top of my head? I'm known for their hits. I know their hits very well. Nothing against them. They just were never like in my face, like this is the greatest thing of all time. But I do respect them. I do think they're a very solid band overall. Um, so going, but to actually very similar to Kyle as well, as I said from the top. This is my first listen to of a whole album of theirs from start to finish because like I said, I only really knew the hits in the '80s or back in the day, if you will. But going into this one, I was very, very intrigued by the production on it. I think the production is actually really solid. I think the recording process was actually really well done. There were points where I felt a little bit like, how to put this? I felt a little like bored at some points, but it did pick up at some points as well. But yeah, this is my first listen to a Judas Priest album from start to finish, and I gotta say, I enjoyed what I listened to. So let's get into the track listing for me at least. My standout tracks are right off the bat, Panic Attack and The Serpent and the King. These are two complete 8 out of 10s for me. These are really, really solid opening tracks. For those of you who've listened to us for any period of time, and Hobbs, you're new to this, you're our guest tonight. I'm a title track sucker. I love me a good title track. But I will say to this title track, Invincible Shield, it's okay. It's kind of like the Foo Fighters situation. Like it's there, but it's not great. It's not bad, but it's just not what I was expecting. Like, oh, it's a title track. I'm drawn to it. Like Bat Out of Hell or like, or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm always drawn to like title tracks. What's that, guy?
JT, I think this is like the 4th time in a row you've said that, and you're turning over a new leaf for real.
I really am. I really am turning over a new leaf. These title tracks got cut. Listen, music industry people and bands out there, upgrade your title tracks just a little bit.
You're growing up right before our eyes, and it only took you 20 plus years to reach that. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it.
Made it. Made it. Hey, no problem. No problem.
Thank you. I'll be here all year. But yeah, and this title track though it's good. It's just not what I was like. As I said, I typically gravitate towards those tracks, but in this case, it was good. It was not great. It was sent about like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Devil in Disguise, good track. Definitely one I would go back to more often than not. Gatesville, same thing. Both those are 7 out of 10s, maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10, pushing it a little bit. This is when the album starts to like take a slight, and I don't mean like a big dip, but I mean like it starts to take a gradual decline of like, okay, I've heard this before, I've heard this riff before, I've heard that drum piece before, standard rock guitar here, standard rock song here, or standard Judas Priest song here, kind of thing. With Crown of Horns, basically the stretch from Crown of Thorns to Sons of Thunder, like this whole run here is it's a very good run, but as the album went on, I did feel the weight of it because it is a long record. It's 52 minutes long minus the bonus tracks. But this one is these Crown of Horns, and Crown of Horns is I had a 6 out of 10. As God Is My Witness is a 6 out of 10. Trial by Fire actually is sitting a little bit higher at like a 6.5. And then Escape from Reality, Sons of Thunder, and Giants in the Sky are all sitting at about a 6 out of 10 for me. That's for the rest of those tracks there. The bonus tracks is I listened to the deluxe edition on Spotify of these the Invincible Shield album, and Fight of Your Life, Vicious Circle, and The Lodger. I didn't realize these were bonus tracks until we started looking at the Wikipedia page because I goes on Spotify, I just listened to the album from start to finish. But these tracks are they're they didn't really add too much to me. I mean, listening to it from start to finish, it's like all right, the album does get like a little bit of fatigue here and there, a tad bit towards the end, like with the bonus tracks, because the first 11 tracks are 52 minutes long in total. And if you add the bonus tracks, it's just over an hour and almost an hour and 4 minutes. So though adding those tracks in there was not a bad. I'm glad they have deluxe tracks. I'm glad they were able to like add them. They didn't do what I was hoping they would do, which was this is a great track. We're gonna leave it as a bonus track though, because for all of our hardcore fans, whatever, like I love that stuff too. But it just didn't add too much in my opinion, of course. So Fight of Your Life, Vicious Circle, and The Lodger are sitting at probably about like a just under a 6, like a 5.8 to a 6 out of 10 for me for those tracks there. But I mean, as a listen though, like for Judas Priest to put out an album in 2024 and have it be like just the quality of it is incredible. Whoever the producer is did a fantastic job with that, in my opinion.
Andy Sneap,
Yeah, he's a monster. He's he actually the touring guitar player for them too now.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
yeah. He's kind of doing double duty, but he's from a metal perspective, producer, he's one of the best out there for sure.
Yeah, and he did a fantastic job with this record. So I'm sitting a little bit higher than Kyle. If we're going out of 10 on this one, I'm actually going to sit at a 6.25 out of 10 for this one. I mean, because the only reason why I put it as low as it did because it's not a bad record. If you go into this listening to this expecting like the greatest thing in the world, you might actually think this is actually pretty solid stuff. But for Judas Priest record and my first listen to of a Judas Priest record, I actually thoroughly enjoyed this quite a bit. But I'm a little bit higher than Kyle. We'll go 6.5. Forget 6.2. We're going 6.5 out of 10 for Judas Priest Invincible Shield. Now, Mike, you made me go. Now it's your turn. What do you got?
Hey, there we go. So I have a little bit more of a good, history with Judas Priest. Not as extensive as I would like it to be, but I definitely am a huge fan, recognize their contribution to the, metal community, the metal world, and also just one of the longest running metal bands. I mean, 18 albums, something like that. Just
19
spans
albums, 50 years, Mike. 50 years. Wow.
Damn. And
Yeah.
I mean, that enough said right there. I mean, who thought this band would sound this good at this point? And I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar, Kyle and JT, definitely. I don't know if you listened to their previous album, Firepower, but there's definitely a lot of anticipation to see if this band can keep going at the rate that they're going. And it is without a doubt that this band has flexed in the face of, adversity. They've overcome a lot of things. Definitely critics who've kind of attacked them for different aspects of, just about their image or their lead singer or, just different members of the band. The tumultuous kind of history that they've gone through, different issues with communication and lead singer leaving, Rob Halford leaving. So definitely gone through a lot. So we're definitely seeing an album that is probably majorly influenced by such kind of a tumultuous past. So, going into the first three tracks, Panic Attack, Serpent and the King, and Invincible Shield, man, there's something about the speed and power of these three tracks. They're definitely bringing, in a lot of ways, and it's an intentional album where it's like, hey, if you fans think we don't got this, this is proof to you that we do. And I almost feel like these are all together in the idea that if anybody out there is kind of worrying, we don't want you to worry. We're not even going to space them or pace them within the rest of the up and downs, the Devil in Disguise, which is more of a groovy tune to maybe the Crown of Horns and, more catchy chorus kind of sing-along type of songs. They really wanted to start this album strong with three very fast pace tracks. And these are my three favorite albums, three favorite songs of the album. Starting off Panic Attack, it's 8.5 out of 10. Just when I first heard that keyboard, I got nervous. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm right there with you, Kyle. I just started going, oh no. Like, I have a feeling we're gonna go into some like real 80s, poppy kind of, pop metal or whatever with like spandex and headbands. And I was very happy that it was like, hey, check this out. And then psych, here we come. And then that riff kicks in. And like production wise, I mean, Andy Sneap's kicking into full gear. He's very attuned with all the different elements of this band mixed together. So you just kind of get that, sharp metallic riffs, man. There's catchy vocals. How long he stays in that high register, I really fear for what that live performance is going to be. I really it is everything I hope and dream for it to be, but I'm afraid that he's able to do this, and if he is, and gee whiz, this guy is he's something else, man. It just keeping the legacy going. So yeah, great song, good start, and then we go into my favorite song of the album, Serpent and the King, 9 out of 10. Just once again, Metallica, eat your heart out. Like there are some opening riffs on this. Yeah, eat your heart out, Jay, with that shirt. You just wore it so I could thorn at you.
I did it for you. I did it for you.
Yeah, this album is a perfect example of how you continue to rock at a fast pace. You're supposed to be a thrash band, Metallica, and you basically tried to do that on your last album, but this is how you do it. You hit it with that kind of groovy riff, and then you just kick right into those vocals, the drums, everything is on point here. Nothing is in short supply. It plays a little long at the same tempo. They even teased a couple moments where I think they're going to break the riff down and do a little groovy kind of headbanging part, and then they just go straight back into the bulldozer, and that kind of left me going, all right. Like I'd have given this a 10 if it did some headbanging parts where it just kind of stopped the momentum and broke down, but it didn't do it. It just wanted to prove to everyone, look, we still got this. Going into Invincible Shield, 9 out of 10. It kind of reminds me of Metallica. Once again, that kind of those groovy kind of like riffs that they open up the song with. It kind of reminds me like what Metallica wanted to do, but ultimately failed to do. It just it really just kind of keeps the tempo going. Once again, it still kind of treads on that same pace. Wanted it to break down a little bit and groove a little bit, but you know what? I'm not complaining because it did what it wanted. 9 out of 10. Devil in the Sky is a little slower. 8 out of 10. It's a groovy song. Kind of reminds me of Ozzy. It's kind of interesting. There's a couple little like vocally the inflections and the types of ways he's speaking, and like the chorus reminds me of Ozzy, doing Ozzy better than Ozzy, less auto tune than Ozzy. British Steel era, it had a little bit of just it definitely was catchy and groovy, and it was a nice, welcoming change of pace to the first opening speed tracks, and I like that. So then we kind of go into Gates of Hell. Lyrically, I was a little confused because there's a lot of Christianity themes, a lot of like good versus evil themes. This I'm not too sure like what the theme of this song is. Like maybe Hobbs will weigh in on that and maybe enlighten me. It just was like there's a lot of like good over evil, and then this one's evil over good. It seems I don't know. It's weird. So, but lyrically, wasn't a fan. But it's just like a solid song. Chorus is okay. It's at this point that I'm like, all right, like this song's cool. It's not, not my favorite. 7 out of 10. Crown of Horns. This has a power metal feel to it. Very open, catchy, memorable chorus. It's got some cool things going on. Plods along a little bit, which kind of kept it at an 8 instead of a higher rating. The lyrics are a little cheesy. I'm not complaining. They're still kind of in the realm of what to expect from Judas Priest. If you go into Judas Priest expecting Judas Priest to not be themselves and give you a little cheesy kind of like lyrical kind of elements there, then you've come into the wrong door and you need to turn around and go back. So so then as God's My Witness, it's once again it kind of goes on the same pace. It doesn't stop and groove a little bit more. Opens up with that nice thrashy riff. It's just kind of another, it's just another straightforward song. But I kind of felt a little bit of fatigue here with some of the just straightforward, just go songs that didn't really kind of dynamic wise didn't intrigue me too much. So 7.5. And then Trial by Fire, another one of my favorites on the album. Groovy opening riff. Definitely elevated there. Escape from Reality. Not a huge fan of this song. Didn't hate it, but it just kind of it's a little heavier. But again, it just kind of plodded along. It needed something else to happen. So 7 out of 10 for that. Sons of Thunder. This is at my point, my opinion, where the album begins to dip. I was like real like enthralled by that first opening kind of offering of tracks, and then we kind of get to this point, the like Escape from Reality, Sons of Thunder, Giants in the Sky. They're all about a 6 for me. At this point, I was kind of like they've run out of gas, and I feel like that's okay because when you are at the level this band has been for as long as they have, it's impressive. And then the last 3 tracks, they're all pretty middling for me. That Lodger one is some strange stuff. It felt like a metal opera with like definitely a very strange turn of like focus, more atmospheric, less riff driven, which is fine. It definitely is a curveball, but I think it's an interesting curveball. Overall, this band has been at it for a long time. They were affected by like, they call it the Pantera effect when after a certain point in their career, like after what was that? Painkiller, that they wanted to explore a different sound, and I think you know, they were doing what they do for so long. I don't blame them, but they kind of came back together. And the last couple albums they put out, including some of the previous albums that have been really good. So overall, this was a 7.5 out of 10. I'm sitting in that realm. I could even be at an 8, depending on how much time goes by. But as my initial reaction, I do award a half a point based on certain elements. But at this point, I feel like I'm happy with what I've given it. 7.5 out of 10. And I feel I like the music. I like the song development, songwriting a little bit better on Firepower. I feel Firepower was able to take the chorus and the different elements of vocals and blend them together a little more in a straightforward way. Whereas I felt this one was more, it had its moments, but it kind of lost some of that along the way. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for me.
All right, you heard it first from Mike, and then last but not least, Hobbs. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to give it my best shot. You guys did a great job. All right, so I come at this record a little bit differently. I'm a kind of a Judas Priest fanboy to a certain degree. Like, this is right up my alley. I'll go track by track here. Panic Attack is one of the best Judas Priest songs I think I've heard in the last 20 years. I gave this song a 10 right off the bat. From the idea, the chorus being Panic Attack, the lyrics kind of come at you short and sweet. It almost feels like a panic attack. The music comes at you hard and fast. Scott Travis is a madman on the drum set, and Rob is bringing something vocally that he has somehow managed to turn the clock back, and it's kind of shocking to me. Like, he's been good over the last 20, 25 years, but this is like a whole other step up, I think. And to be 72 years old, still be able to provide that sort of vocal power and range is just blows my mind, really. I love the harmony work on the guitars. Richie Faulkner and what he's brought, I think, is being a younger guitar player. So he replaced KK Downey. He's in his 40s, I believe. The rest of the band is in their late 60s, early 70s. I think Richie fits in seamlessly with his play style, but he brings a youth and an energy that I think they're really feeding off of. And Glenn Tipton, I don't know how he's still doing it. The guy has Parkinson's disease. He's in his late 60s. The guy still plays like a madman. And did all the tracking along with Richie for this album, which is amazing to me. Going to track 2, Serpent and the King. I thought this was a great song. I thought the lyrics were really cool. The way they kind of do the halftime chorus, it comes at you super fast. They break down that chorus. It's a huge, that huge Priest style chorus. There's some cool ear candy effects on this track too. Little guitar noodles and drum fills and things that I feel like you have to listen to on headphones. And I like that just in general. And I'll get into this more at the end, but I like albums that I can listen to on my headphones and you hear little detail stuff that you don't necessarily hear if you're driving in your car or if you're just listening on your home stereo. I like those little kinds of just details. There was some really cool effects on Halford's voice. And again, like Scott Travis, I can't talk about him and his drumming enough. I think what he brings energy-wise and his precision is reminiscent of very few drum players, I think, across metal. And that's saying a lot. I mean, Mike knows, like, there's some absolute monsters out there, but I think Scott Travis is in an air kind of by himself to a certain degrees with the way he plays. He reminds me a lot. His accuracy reminds me a lot of Chris Adler from Lamb of God before he left. Invincible Shield. I know you guys are. It's kind of funny. I hit a little bit of album fatigue here. I know it sounds strange, but Invincible Shield just felt a little bit derivative. There's a track off of one of their more recent albums that literally is almost the same hook. The lyrics are different, but the melody and everything is very similar. And I could not find the song, unfortunately, to compare it to. But I gave this track a 7. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's very classic Priest. Just felt derivative to me.
And it's funny.
I
was saying Invincible. It's a lot of metalheads can't admit to a song having a similar sound to another song. They in a lot of ways it's a defeatist kind of move that kind of makes you think your heroes are running out of ideas and that they're human. Well, they are human and they do tread on the same water sometimes. Get over it, people. All right, it happens. The world is not over.
It doesn't make the song bad. Like, it's still a good song.
Exactly.
It's still classic Judas Priest. I'm not even saying anything. It didn't. Not that they're breaking new ground in this album, but it wasn't breaking any new, like, something that I hadn't heard them do before, in the recent past. In the recent past. That's right. So, Devil in Disguise, I gave an 8. This brought back. I listened to this track a bunch of times when the album first came out. This song reminds me of like the Defenders of the Faith, early 80s Judas Priest, like that classic mid-tempo, just huge chorus. It doesn't plod along. Like Priest has always, I felt like, walked that line of being too heavy or not. Like, you can be heavy and not groovy. And they've always managed to meld those two very well together, even on albums that weren't as well produced. And maybe the recordings weren't as well done as what this album is. And I just really thought they hit this one out of the park to get that classic, again, nothing new, but just that classic mid-tempo Priest. I thought it was a home run. So I gave that an 8. The Gates of Hell. Mike and I have talked about this song a few times over the last few weeks. This has actually become one of my favorite songs on the album. Well, shockingly, because at first I really didn't like it. I gave this a 9, and I'll tell you why. The lyric, first of all, the lyrical content is definitely darker than the rest of the album. Like there definitely feels like there's more bad than good here. There's no doubt about that. But the guitar harmonies and the things that they've assembled, the way they arranged the song, just from a musical standpoint, I think is pretty fantastic. And I think it's fantastic because it's so simple. There isn't tremendous shredding parts on this. There aren't super fast licks. There isn't like major drum work. Like it's pretty straightforward, but sometimes there's beauty in it. And when you have an album that's as intricate as it is to this point, it's kind of nice maybe to take a breath and have a little bit of a straightforward song. It also has my favorite solo. This solo, you can obviously tell. I played guitar in the past, so like there's a part in the solo where you actually hear the pickup switch from the neck pickup to the bridge pickup, and the sounds. I don't know who's played the solo. I wasn't able to find. I don't know if it was Richie or Glenn, but you can hear the switch, the change in the tone, the warmth from the neck pickup to the output of that bridge pickup. It caught me. It was on first listen. That was something that caught me right away. And I keep going back to listen to it and I keep liking it more and more. So I give that a 9. Crown of Horns is after Panic Attack is my second favorite song. I gave this a 9.5. I think this is awesome. The lyrics are great. I love the lyrical content. Halford's voice, he's going from high to low. He's got the harmonies and everything are attached, I think, perfectly. Again, it's not a super fast song. It's more of a mid-tempo kind of, you know, heavy tune that they're really good at. Like, it's not super fast, not super slow. They kind of catch this middle ground, and I feel like they do that very well. They have that. There's a classic like metal simple breakdown in the middle of this too. That's so heavy. If you don't bang your head to that, like I don't care what kind of music you like or whatever. Like if that doesn't get you in some way, like I don't know, we should make sure you still have a pulse. I think. The only knock I have on this is that the outro gets a little long. Like it's kind of repetitive. I get a little tired there. So again, like this is kind of, we're getting towards the back end of the album, and I know you guys are starting to get fatigued. This is where things kind of started to really pick up for me. Because there was different things that I wanted to hear from Priest, I guess. As God is my witness, I gave it 8.5. I think the lyrical content is really good. It's a positive kind of thing. Good versus evil, trying to do the right thing, having that mindset. I think Scott Travis, again, I can't say it enough, his drumming is absolutely awesome on this. He's got the huge chorus. I think the two things that stuck out to me on this were the speed of it. It's a very fast song. It punches really hard. And Halford's conviction when he's singing in this song, I think, is a step up from some of the others. Like it really feels like listening to it feels like he actually really, really believes what he's saying. And that just kind of caught me not off guard, but it just helps make the song more powerful. I think it's one of his better performances on this album. And I, in a way, the way it sounds, I feel like this could have come off of Painkiller. Maybe not one of the classic songs on Painkiller, but could have been a B-side to Painkiller. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the song was hanging around for the last 30 years. And they were like, oh, let's finish it. Trials by Fire, I gave it 9.5. It has a lot of things in here that I like. It's got the bell in the intro. I'm a sucker for, a church bell in a metal song. I'm sorry. It's just me. It has something that I don't really think Priest has done since maybe the mid to late 70s. There's a really good, like, offbeat groove here in the main riff. It reminds me a lot of Tool. I know that sounds kind of maybe crazy, but I can't recall a time when Priest was ever really doing stuff like this on a song as long as this is. I think it's awesome. There's a lot more ear candy on here, little details that I love to hear. The only knock on this song is at the end, Halford's kind of reaching for a note that I don't think is really there anymore. So I mean, I give him effort for an A for effort. I don't think any amount of Pro Tools is going to fix that though. So it's good for reality.
I was gonna say the last four songs, they've all been, in my opinion, they were definitely okay. We did our thing that we normally do. Like, these are kind of the songs that we're gonna have more like a little more like diversity in sound and try some different things. Whereas like you get what you pay for by this point. The other stuff has more stylistic stuff on it. Like, it's got more elements to it that I think draw from a different place than like what you get in the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree with that. I think the first half of the album it's that fast kind of classic Priest energy, and then they kind of wrapped up that classicness with some newer like some newer influences. Like, what I'll say when I say newer was Priest, I mean maybe over the last 20 years since Halford rejoined. And the second half of the album, I think, kind of grabs a lot of that mid-tempo, sort of mid-range music where he's not super high, he's not super low. They're kind of doing what they can within it's going to sound like I'm kind of beating them up for it, but that's not what I mean. I think they do this really, really well. And I think they've always done this as a band. I think that they're kind of developing this part a little bit more in a way. So I'll finish up quick here. Escape from Reality, I gave an 8. I think it's a solid mid-tempo song. It's very heavy. I think this song, out of all of them, there's a lot of Ozzy in the vocals, but this song really reminded me of Black Sabbath. That middle part has really got that psychedelic effect on Halford's voice. It's got this weird, groovy, dark tritone thing going on there in the middle. Like, it's very reminiscent of Black Sabbath. Being that they're both from England, both came out of the same town, doesn't surprise me. Paying like an homage to their countrymen there. Sons of Thunder is the most disappointing track on the album for me. And probably because I just don't like when they do like cheesy 80s, like the Heading Out on the Highway, Wild Nights, Hot and Crazy Days. Like, that's what this reminded me of. Just not my thing. I gave it a 7. I could have gone lower, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to hit them over the head too hard because I liked them. Giants of the Sky is a song that really, it grew on me, similar to Gates of Hell. I think it was the lyrics that kind of won me over. I gave this an 8.5. It's another heavy mid-tempo song. I feel like if you listen to the Ripper era tunes, it reminded me of that. Some of the production is similar to that. I don't know if they tuned down for this. Maybe they did. It's heavier. It's a little bit. There's some elements there that just reminded me of Demolition and Jugulator. I know a lot of people think that's crazy. I actually like those albums. The vocal harmonies are great. The clean part in the middle is like this really cool neoclassical thing. It has a lot of that epicness that I want from Judas Priest. And being that this song, they wrote it as a tribute to all of the, their fallen heroes, and metal over the last several years. We've lost a lot of major players. So, it just felt, I don't know, it was a feel good way to end the record, I felt like. And as far as the last 3 tracks in the deluxe, I didn't even really get into them, if I'm being honest. I listened to them a few times. Felt like B-sides. I'm wary of bands that release extra tracks because I don't know if they spend the time to develop them the way that they maybe should. You want them to be good, but sometimes most of the time, more often than not, they fall flat, I think. So just to kind of wrap everything up.
Weird.
Yeah, like it's just not, I don't know, like it didn't give me the warm and fuzzies that the rest of the album gave me. Like, it just, don't give me half baked bread. Like, I want either a fully baked loaf, or just I'll drink water instead. Like I don't, it's just not my thing. But the standouts for me on this whole album, obviously Halford's voice, shockingly, like, bringing it to a whole other level. Scott Travis's drumming and Richie Faulkner's guitar playing. I think they have taken Firepower and they've pushed it to another level. They've really stepped up their game, I think. Because I thought Firepower was good, but this feels like a good positive step in the right direction, or a more polished direction. And I think as a whole, if you listen to this record as a Priest fan, you're going to find all the errors of Priest here. There's going to be something for every Priest fan, no matter how old or young you are, when you started listening to them. If you know their catalog, there's something on this album that you're going to latch onto. So overall, I give this album, I'm giving it an 8.5, 9. Like, I'm that high on it. I really like it. It's one of my favorite albums of 2024 so far. I think they just did a great job with this across the board.
All right. Well, you heard here from our special guest tonight, Hobbs. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, as always.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime you want to come back and talk metal, let us know.
I'm always down.
Awesome. There we go. But yeah, you heard here
doing
first.
Barbara Streisand later, so if you want to come in on that, we can. No, we're not.
Well, I mean, I can give you. I could try.
Oh yeah. No, we're not.
I'm not saying that'll be good. Yeah.
Call that off. Call that off, boys. We're not doing bars right now. Call that off. Call
Well,
that
you
Celine
already
Dion,
said
what?
it. You can't go back now.
off.
Air? No, I'm just kidding. Everyone.
Celine Dion. Yeah,
No,
sure.
don't Dolly Parton, whatever.
It's only
Dolly Parton. No, I'm just kidding.
you,
No.
fail.
I said it wrong. I know. But ultimately, we want to thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoy us, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to our special guest Hobbs for just sharing his love of Judas Priest. Please don't forget to follow us on our social media pages as well, simply at the Super Review Show. Kyle, Q&A podcast is pumping and running this time around, right?
Yep, still going. Episode came out yesterday. New one next week too.
Awesome. Well, looking for. Please follow him on all podcasts wherever you get your podcast. Q&A podcast, they're right over there. Mike, as always, this is Mike's idea for having Hobbs on, and we appreciate him for having Hobbs on as well. So
yeah. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the invite.
No problem. And I mean, you have a podcast possibly coming out there. So at some point, I know you're.
At some point, I would. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. We'll see if any of them actually come to fruition.
There you go. Well, stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And we will definitely plug your podcast too if we have if it's up and running.
Absolutely.
We'll give it a plug for you. No worries. But thank you so much for watching. Listen, however you enjoyed us. Ultimately, this is a very solid record overall. You heard our takes on it, and thanks so much for watching, listening. But for all of us here at the Super Review Show, Career Retrospectives, please stay safe, take care, and have a great night.